Welcome to Canucks Last Week, where I try to cover everything Canucks Last Week, more like Canucks Last 3 years if we're talking about the struggling Canucks power play. Am I right, guys? Am I right? Are you done? Yes. So I'm not going to harp on the Canucks power play too much. It's been beaten to death, but we're a fifth of the way through the season, and I think at this point it's time for the Canucks to shake up the units. I'd like to experiment with the idea of splitting up the Sedin twins on the power play. I mean, they're separate people, they don't need to be playing on the same unit all the time, and I think at this point in their careers, they've maybe more transitioned to both being playmakers rather than that sniper-playmaker combination that we've been so used to seeing in the past. Maybe you could put Sven Baertschi on the first unit and then bring back Daniel Sedin onto the second unit. You could even put Jake Virtanen in front of the net for a net front presence. Hell, you could even put Erik Gudbranson in front of the net. Just do something to change it up. That's totally a joke about Erik Gudbranson, by the way. I'm having PTSD from when Tom Sestito stood in front of the net. We all know how that ended up. Somehow that didn't ruin John Tortorella's career, and he still won a Jack Adams. Speaking of John Tortorella, though, I'd love to see Sam Gagner being used the same way that Torts deployed him on the power play during his time in Columbus. Instead of being the point guy on the power play, Gagner was used as the middleman, the bumper man, whatever you want to call it, the middle forward in the 1-3-1 setup on the power play where the puck kind of is facilitated through Gagner. I think he has the skills, the playmaking, the vision, the hands, the ability to facilitate a power play, especially a power play that needs someone like that, like the Bo Horvat unit. Moving on, the Canucks went 1-2 this week, and Team Tank is looking very strong right now without Chris Tanev. Thankfully, it looks like he won't need surgery on his thumb, but it's looking like he's going to be at least a week and a bit out from playing again, and I think now is the time to start the Canucks without Tanev record counter. So far, the Canucks are 0-2 without Chris Tanev and have been outscored 9-1. There should be a little asterisk on that number 9, as 2 of those goals were empty net goals, and another one was off of a penalty shot in a 4-0 game with 14 seconds left. That's just an absolutely savage move by the ref, and I feel so bad for Jacob Markstrom, who was, honestly, he kept the Canucks in that game up until the empty net goals. Anyway, let's get into the main topic of the video, Erik Gudbranson. I'm going to try to cover as many angles as I can before I give my opinion of him, so stay with me here. So first, a little bit of context for those of you that don't know. Erik Gudbranson was acquired by the Vancouver Canucks along with a 5th-round pick from the Florida Panthers in exchange for Jared McCann, a 2nd and a 4th-round pick. Needless to say, we paid a pretty penny to get Erik Gudbranson. His 1-year contract will end this year, taking him to unrestricted free agency, and he's sure to be asking for at least $1 million more than his current $3.5 million price tag. So simply put, the Canucks cannot lose him for nothing. They cannot let him walk to free agency. They can either trade him or they can re-sign him. So let's take a look under the hood at Erik Gudbranson, and keep in mind that all of these stats are taken from 5-on-5 play. With Erik Gudbranson on the ice, the Vancouver Canucks control 42% of all shot attempts, which is good for second last on the team, only ahead of Brendan Gaunce. But he's a stay-at-home defenseman, you say? Well, when you look at unblocked shot attempts, it's still not looking good, as he only controls 41% of the unblocked shot attempts when he's on the ice. And it's not like it's just this season and it's a small sample size with Gudbranson. In his 7-year career, he has never posted a Corsi above 49%, other than the 2013-14 season with the Florida Panthers, where he had a 51% Corsi. That year, his most common partner at 5-on-5 was Dylan Olsen. Wait, who? Olsen and Gudbranson actually had pretty good years that year, as they were able to control 53% of all the shot attempts when they were on the ice together. And when they were away from each other, they were still in the black for possession, so it's not really fair to say that one player was carrying the other player on the pairing, which has to be considered a win for Gudbranson. He just hasn't been able to put a season together like that since. Well, what about his physicality that we've been hearing so much about? Out of all the defensemen who have played at least 100 minutes this year, Erik Gudbranson sits 30th in the league in hits per 60 with 8.03. I guess that's a win for him too. Lastly, another argument that I've been hearing to defend Gudbranson is his goals against per 60. He's one of the tops on the team with a 1.07 goals against per 60, but take that with a grain of salt, as his goals for per 60 is also 1.07. So basically a whole lot of nothing is happening on the score sheet when Gudbranson is on the ice. Quick side note, Bo Horvat's goals for per 60 is 3.19 and his goals against per 60 is 1.16. Goddamn. Going back to it, I'd also like to bring attention to the fact that Erik Gudbranson's on-ice save percentage, that is, the save percentage of Vancouver's goalies whenever Erik Gudbranson is on the ice, is incredibly high. It's at 96.99%, and you can look at that in one of two ways. Either Gudbranson is really good at limiting high danger scoring chances, or he's just been getting really lucky to not be on the ice for one of Markstrom's bad goals. I'm gonna have to go with the latter, as Gudbranson is ranked 7th on the team at giving up high danger shot attempts per 60 with a rate of 12.32. So I do think Guddy has some value, just not for a rebuilding team like us, and I would much rather see what kind of resources we could get back for him in a trade instead of inking him to what is probably going to be a contract that is worth way more than he actually is. I also think his value is at his highest point right now, as I believe Travis Green's system has propped up Erik Gudbranson. Hence, Erik Gudbranson is better than you think. That's why we should trade him right now. The way the Canucks are playing right now, they're basically sending the puck into the neutral zone and hoping for a favorable bounce or for good pressure from the wingers in order to retrieve the puck. Basically, they're trying to spend as little time possible in their own zone, which to me is very, very good for Erik Gudbranson. I do think he will have some value for a playoff team, as his size, physicality, and presence in the dressing room should be a bonus for any team, and it's not like his skating is a weakness. Yes, he does get burned onto the outside the odd time, but in no way is his skating a liability. Lastly, for some prospect stuff, Jonah Gadjevich has returned, and in his last 2 games, he's put up 18 shots and 2 goals, good for 11 points in 10 games on the season. Michael DiPietro is currently playing with the OHL team against Russia and has looked pretty good so far, stopping 23 of 25 shots for a win. Hopefully, he'll be one of Canada's 3 goaltenders for the World Junior Championships. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. It really helps me out knowing if I'm doing stuff right or wrong. And if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting subscribe and joining me on this Vancouver Canucks journey. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.